Thank you. Yeah, my name is Bruce Reizenman. I'm the chef of Park Avenue Catering in Cotati, up near Santa Rosa. And I teach food and wine pairing and have an app called Pair It. But today I'm here to demonstrate one of the recipes from Pete's new cookbook. One of the recipes I've contributed. And what I wanted to do is it's a Swiss chard recipe. And for me, good produce in a lot of respects kind of stands on its own. I like to embellish a little bit on the product, but I like to allow it to show through. And so I wanted to show you first, I brought a couple samples of chard. This is actually some fairly good locally grown chard, and the normal size chard. And then I brought with me from my favorite farmer, Tierra vegetable stand. And Pete will tell you that certain farmers grow certain things better than others. Their chard is great, it's true. Their chard is great, their strawberries are great. Certain things they do are just wonderful. But what I did learn is that chard is actually related to beets. And they're very similar to beet greens. Very, very high in vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, iron content. Very, very healthy for you. Chard comes in different colors. You've got red. They've got what's called rainbow chard, which shows you all of them. So you've got yellow, red, and also the traditional white. Now for me, I use chard very similarly to the way I use other hardy greens. So right now, this time of year, the chard is wonderful. Generally, folks at Tierra have it from about August. Usually they start it around August and it runs to usually about March. That's when theirs is the best. And what I was told from Wayne the farmer is that when it comes to kales and chards, they are sweetest after the frost. So if you ever have a kale or a chard, you have it this time of year, and then you have another batch again in about a month or so after you've seen some frost or a couple months, you'll see that the flavor is actually a lot sweeter. What I also brought just to show you is really one of my favorite of the hardy greens, and that's this. It's called Tuscan kale. Has anybody ever had this kale? Tuscan kale, otherwise known as lacinato kale or dino kale. You can find this. This I found at Whole Foods. They have them occasionally in Safeway and other markets. A lot of the farmers markets will carry it. It's wonderful. It's got a beautiful, beautiful, rich flavor. So what I'd like to do is demonstrate this, and it's a very, very simple recipe that I'm going to offer. First, I'll start with the right blend and a little bit of butter. My philosophy is two things. Everything's better with butter, and everything's even better with a little pork. So I'm not doing it with bacon, but this dish actually with a little bit of bacon is great. So butter and a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And this is McAvoy olive oil from up in Petaluma. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that foam up a little bit, and then I'll add to it a few slices of garlic. If you mince garlic and you've tasted something and it has some sauteed garlic in it, it's got a lot of very, really can take over the dish. So rather than take over the dish with the garlic, I just want to infuse some nice flavors. So what I'm going to do here is I'll let that start cooking, and the combination of the olive oil and the butter has got a little bit of a higher burning point than does just the butter. So I want that to brown a little bit, get a little golden brown. And the butter will brown, gives a little nutty flavor, and the garlic will what we call doré, or get a little bit of golden brown color to it as well. And while that's cooking, I'll cut up an onion. So I like it fairly finely diced. I like to see it and I like to taste it. So I don't need it, again, very finely minced, but just a nice little dice. And that's about all I need. And let's see how my garlic is doing. The garlic is, see how it's starting? I think you can see it up there. See how it's starting to get a little bit of brown color to it? I'll give that just a touch more. Then I'll throw the onions in, throw in a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And then I'll cover that and let that cook slowly. Now, chard, the yield on chard is a whole lot better than the yield is on basic spinach. Spinach is actually spinach, beets, and chard are all in the same family. Very different family than kale. Kale is in the cabbage family. But of these particular type of greens, the chard tends to be the hardiest. See the color there? That's beautiful. Exactly what I want. Now we'll lower the heat a little bit. Get that tossed, and then I'll throw in a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'll let that cook for just a few minutes, and that'll soften up. And while that's softening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stems. I don't like to waste. So what I do is I'll take the stems from the chard, both the red and the green, the white stems, and I'll dice them and I'll throw them in right after the onions. So I'll take the chard and same thing, I'll dice that, a little bit larger than the onions, but still around the same general size. I'll throw in one red for just the fun. They say the red stems are a little bit tougher. I really haven't found that to be a problem. Now when it comes to chard also, if the chard is very young and small, to the point where the leaves are only about this size, they're actually wonderful in samples. So you can see how that's cooking. The garlic hasn't browned anymore, but it's got that beautiful golden color. And I will let that cook, and I'll do the same thing here. If I had a little spatula, if I had thought about it, that would have made life a little easier with this way. And then what I'll do is once this is done, I'll let that cook, and then I'll cut the leaves of the kale, of the chard. So that'll go in. Try to keep most of it in there. Now that the heat's come down a little bit, I can turn it up. I turned it down quite low because I didn't want to take a chance on burning the garlic. There's that point where the garlic is a light golden brown, and it's perfect, and the flavor's beautiful. If it goes past that point, the garlic will tend to get a little bitter. So if I can manage to do what I did there, then that works out very well. And you'll see generally a bunch of kale, a bunch of chard of this size, if I'm doing it for a hearty vegetable to go with dinner, it'll serve 6 people. So it doesn't shrink as much. If you took this amount of spinach, you end up with a little garnish on everybody's plate. So it definitely holds up better. And another beautiful thing about kale is kale doesn't die on you. You can cook it, and then you can let it sit warm while you're doing another part of your meal. Let me get this little stem there. While you're cooking another part of your meal, and it'll just hang out, wait for you, and it'll be perfect when you want it. And in fact, I'll show you what I did because I made a sample, and to show you what happens, I'll show you what I did. So you can see the colors there. The red will bleed out beautifully, just like it does on a beet, because I think that red is all water soluble. We'll do one more leaf, and then I'll show you how long it takes to cook. So that's looking pretty good. See how the onions are softening up, the stems are softening a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll put this in there, and I'll just let it set. And I'm going to add something else to this that isn't in actually the original recipe I put in the cookbook, but I just thought it would be a fun thing to do because I do this all the time, is I'm taking some golden raisins. And the sweetness of the raisins with a little bitterness that you get from the chard is a really nice combination. So I put the raisins in now. I'll actually often put the raisins in with the onions so that they start to plump. I'll show you what we've got. So this is the same recipe that was cooked. What time did I start this? Probably about 5.
A little after 5.
5, a little after 5. It's been sitting in this warmer here, this lovely decor warmer, for about 40 minutes. And I can guarantee you it won't taste as if it's been sitting too long. So what I'll do on this is I'm going to add some pine nuts to it. And then what I'd like to do is, should we have people come up to sample? You can drop the fork, you can drop the plate.